Welcome to this edition of CBN News Weekend. I'm Charlene Aaron. As we celebrate the 4th of July, we will hear stories about the Founding Fathers. One aspect that is often overlooked is the key role that Christianity played in American history. As Paul Strand reports, a massive revival in the 1700s left a radical mark on our Founding Fathers and our nation.
America's revolutionary fathers weren't just nominal Christians. They were profoundly influenced by the New World's first revival, the Great Awakening. Reverend Eddie Hyatt tells how it hit from the 1720s to 60s in his book, America's Revival Heritage. Colonial pastor Jonathan Edwards, known to pray and study his Bible 13 hours a day, watched radical revival take over his hometown in Massachusetts.
The way he describes it is just like one day God invaded the town of Northampton. The town seemed to be full of the presence of God.
The bars emptied out and Christians' homes filled with people anxious to be saved and know God.
He said if you came across someone who seemed spiritually indifferent, it would be spoken of as a strange thing.
Then the powerful English preacher George Whitefield brought his fiery sermons to America. Scorned by the established church, he preached salvation to huge multitudes outdoors. Crowds from 10,000 to as many as 30,000 showed up.
Entire towns repenting and turning to God.
Whitefield stayed at Benjamin Franklin's home while preaching in Philadelphia, and Franklin wrote of the revival's impact.
From being thoughtless or indifferent about religion, it seemed as if all the world were growing religious, so that one could not walk through the town in an evening without hearing psalms sung in different families of every street.
Whitefield lifted up a special prayer for the colonies that would make a huge difference in their revolution and future together.
They would not live as 13 scattered colonies, but as one nation under God.
And indeed, the Great Awakening became the first national event the scattered colonies experienced as one. It unified them unlike any time before, just in time to face the mighty British Empire in war. The revival also shaped the Founding Fathers' core vision for America, that God sets men free. It's their natural right to have liberty, and each is made to rule with Christ. Its influence is all over their Declaration of Independence, U.S. Constitution, and Bill of Rights. As he studied the founders, Hyatt found example after example of how deeply this awakening influenced them and their Christian values. Take Thomas Jefferson, for instance.
He signed all presidential documents in the year of our Lord Christ.
He sent Christian missionaries to one Indian tribe and gave them federal funds to build a church. He also attended Sunday services held in the House of Representatives. Some scholars even doubt the first president's faith, but a Quaker named Isaac Potts living near Valley Forge saw George Washington's faith up close during that cruel winter that almost froze his colonial army to death during the Revolution.
He said, I tied my horse to a sapling and went quietly into the woods, and to my astonishment, I saw the great George Washington on his knees alone. He was at prayer to the God of the armies of heaven, beseeching him.
The anti-war Quaker Potts later wrote,
and he says, such a prayer I never heard from the lips of man. We never thought a man could be a soldier and a Christian. But if there is one in the world, it is Washington.
At the Constitutional Convention in 1787, the delegates fought and bickered so bitterly the convention almost broke up. But then Ben Franklin stood and began to preach.
He says, the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid?
Then Franklin beseeched them to pray together at the start of every day. After that, an atmosphere of peace and reconciliation came upon the founders.
And they were able to proceed and to finish their job of hammering out the American Constitution and Bill of Rights, and in a context of prayer.
60 years after it began, the Great Awakening still influenced the Founding Fathers and continues to benefit our country today. Paul Strand, CBN News.
She started running in combat boots as a way to deal with her son's deployment and ended up doing much more. The story of one soldier's mom coming up. Well, many family members of soldiers are missing their loved ones this 4th of July, and many are deployed and serving overseas. When Amy Cotta's son joined the Marines at 17, he volunteered for early deployment. It hit her hard, but she did something about it. She started running in combat boots and ended up creating a new way to honor fallen soldiers.
Tyler, I always kind of knew he was going to go into the military, but one day his senior year, he came in the house and he said, "Mom, I'm going to join the Marines. I want you to go down to the recruiter's office and sign me up." He was 17 at the time. He volunteered to go early. There was no time to process because now you're not going to see or talk to your child for 12 to 13 weeks. I felt the depression coming on, but it really didn't hit until he left. I remember telling my husband, I can't live like this. I can't walk around being this worried and this depressed. I may have to go get help. I remembered that my boots that I'd gotten from the boot campaign were sitting in my closet. The whole purpose behind their mission is to get civilians in the boots as a show of patriotism. And I thought, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Those boots are going to become my solidarity with my son. I'd signed up for a half marathon and I had the combat boots on. And we got at the starting line and we took off. Depression started falling off with every step that I took. It was like armor being tossed off me. It was like the pain was just peeling away. About mile 10, my body reminded me why I wasn't a runner. My knees started hurting. With every step, I'm just in excruciating pain. And I made it. When I got across the finish line, I fell into the arms of the announcer, and he announced to the crowd that I was there for my son. There was peace and happiness in that place. I had connected with one of the moms of one of the guys on my pack, and she had told me that it was his dream to always do an Ironman someday. So I told her, I'm gonna get Anthony across the finish line. And I couldn't swim. I couldn't put my face in the water. I'd like hyperventilate. And that's the first time that I heard God so strong, and his exact words were, "Get uncomfortable." When I did not finish the swim at that first Ironman, the pain was unbearable, and it was not my pain. It wasn't my ego. I was raising money for the boot campaign. I had people from the organization there. I had people that sponsored money to help me get me there, and then I had my guys. And I had Anthony, and I had his mom. And letting them down was so painful. I raced another Ironman, and I said, you know, God, you would not have put this in my heart to do it if you didn't also give me the ability to do it. And I just went. And the cool thing is that I sang to myself and to him all the way. And the same thing on the bike and the same thing on the run. We did all 140.6 miles under midnight. We got at the finish line at 11:45, but I got my guys to the finish line. And Ironman was nice enough to go ahead and give me a finisher's medal, not for me to keep. I sent that to Anthony's mom. And I remember I was sitting at my desk and I thought, you know, I'd really like to send another medal. So I put up on Facebook, I would like to be able to send my friend a medal for her brother. Now these race medals are like Olympic gold medals to Ironman. I didn't expect to get a single medal. Within 2 hours, I had enough medals for all 21 fallen on my pack. And that's how my organization, Medals of Honor, started. There's something that all military families share. And those fears are that we lose our loved ones in war, and that their memory and their sacrifice, and worse yet, their life, will be forgotten. It may look small in scale, it may look huge in scale, but it's not until we either quiet it down, slow it down, or sometimes, unfortunately, we have to hit a wall for us to stop and go, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Let go and let God.
Up next, we're hearing from the cast members of the new movie, Faith of Our Fathers, why they say this is a film you don't want to miss.
Inside every child is a hero, a leader, a friend to others, someone who helps out, who does the right thing, who dreams of what they can be, but they still need our help.
What should I do? What should I say? How should I feel?
That's where Superbook comes in. It provides moral and spiritual truths through situations children can relate to, teaching God's Word to the children you love. Join the Superbook DVD Club and receive Superbook's newest episodes as they're available, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. Get Superbook today and watch the miracles happen.
It's been 50 years since the Vietnam War. Now a new movie is honoring the veterans of that conflict and showing the lasting legacy that the love of fathers can have for a son, even if the father was a casualty of war. The film is called Faith of Our Fathers. It hits theaters July 1st. And joining me now to talk about the movie are 2 actors, Cy Robertson from the hit show Duck Dynasty and Oscar award-winning actor Stephen Baldwin. Let's start with you, Stephen. Faith of Our Fathers tugs on many heartstrings: military service, the aftermath of the Vietnam War, and a father's love. What drew you to this film?
Well, when I first read the script, for me it was mostly just the journey of these sons who had these letters that they received. Some of those letters they never even read because it was too painful or, you know, whatever. So for me it was the journey of the 2 sons. They come together, they meet each other and decide to go on a cross-country journey to Washington, D.C., to the Vietnam War Memorial, the wall that has the 58,000 names on it. And it was the motivation of that unanswered question, that lack of closure in the lives of these 2 sons about knowing who their dads were, what happened to them, et cetera, et cetera. So that was very compelling to me. The fact that in the Vietnam battle sequences and in the flashbacks, the clear communication of the gospel was awesome. And is an amazing element that exists in Faith of Our Fathers. And lastly, and equally as important, is we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, and it's a wonderful reality for us to use Faith of Our Fathers as an opportunity to honor our veterans and give them the respect that they're due.
Indeed. And Cy, you are a Vietnam veteran yourself. What was your reaction when approached to do this movie?
When they asked me to be in Faith of Our Fathers, I was actually honored, okay? And like, you know, it's a love story, okay? About, you know, father's love for his sons, okay? It's about combat veterans' love for each other, okay? Because look, that's the only protection they got is each other. Okay, in wartime, okay? It's about the guys around them, okay, and the relationship they have, okay? So this whole movie is based on a father's love and the relationship of everyone concerned, okay? So it's plus it honors our veterans.
Amen. That's what it's all about. Well, Stephen, you've actually worked with the team behind the movie, the Downs brothers, as well as David A.R. White. What have your experiences with these filmmakers been that brought you back for more?
Kevin and Bobby Downs, they had a company for forever called ChristianCinema.com. It's been doing really wonderful in communicating the gospel and getting Christian content out all over the world. Dave White's an actor. Kevin and Dave and I and Bobby worked on a movie over 10 years ago called The Six, The Mark Unleashed, which is a very popular title now here in the States as far as Christian movies go. And I was talking to Kevin recently, and Kevin has gone on since then to star in the movie Courageous with Alex Kendrick, which was a big hit. Dave White is one of the owners of Pure Flix, which produced God's Not Dead, and Dave participated in that film. And it's funny because these guys are really humble guys that are quite surprised now that they're seeing all the success and that God's blessing these opportunities. I had to turn to Kevin Downs the other day and say, hey, Kev, you're one of the pioneers in this Christian movie business here in the United States. I said, I'm not surprised God's blessing what you're doing. You've been doing it a long time, so it's just a thrill for me to be working with them again.
Excellent. Well, we're all looking forward to seeing it. Cy Robertson and Stephen Baldwin, thanks for being with us today.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
And the film comes out July 1st. Make sure you check it out. He was one of the stars of the classic movie Forrest Gump, and after playing the role of a vet, he took up their cause. How his organization helps veterans, next on CBN News Weekend. For more than a decade, thousands of U.S. troops have been injured fighting in foreign wars. Many celebrities work to help our veterans. Actor Gary Sinise played Lieutenant Dan in the movie Forrest Gump and now works to do everything he can to help soldiers in the field and at home.
Thought I'd try out my sea legs.
Well, you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Yes, I know that.
His portrayal of Vietnam veteran Lieutenant Dan Taylor in Forrest Gump earned him a Best Supporting Actor nomination. On a personal level, it led to Gary Sinise's involvement with the organization Disabled American Veterans and a deep devotion to the well-being of our troops.
Then September 11th came along. We deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. People started getting hurt, and the thought of what happened to our Vietnam veterans happening to our active duty folks today was very difficult for me. It wasn't something I could sit back and let happen again.
So Sinise started visiting American military men and women overseas. Eventually, the actor, who is also a musician, asked the USO if he could take a band on a tour. The USO agreed, and the Lieutenant Dan Band was born.
We're trying to get to every single base around the world before we're done with this journey.
They deserve our attention, our respect, and our gratitude, and whatever we can do for them.
Gary plays the bass in the Lieutenant Dan Band, and on average they play about 30 to 40 shows a year, with around 75% of those for USO, charities, or benefits.
The VA can only do so much and only does so much. Sometimes the VA can actually make things a little more difficult than it should be for our veterans. So thankfully, there are some good organizations out there in the nonprofit world that are trying to fill those gaps, and that's why I created my foundation.
And the mission of the Gary Sinise Foundation is to serve and honor veterans, first responders, their families, and others in need.
God bless our military!
The Gary Sinise Foundation is partnering with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to build smart homes for the most severely injured veterans.
They're run by iPads, they have elevators, they have sensors all around. If you're confined to a wheelchair and you can't reach something, you know, the cupboards can come down to your level and that kind of thing. So we want these warriors to come home and have an opportunity in life to at least be independent within their living space.
We need to take care of you before the battle, we need to take care of you during the battle, and we need to take care of you after the battle and make sure you know that we're grateful for everything you do for us.
And the band will do that in concerts across 10 states. The need is great. According to the Wounded Warrior Project, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan led to physical injuries for more than 50,000 service members. In addition, an estimated 400,000 battle combat-related stress, major depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Marine Staff Sergeant Isaac Zahn is a member of the Wounded Warrior Battalion East.
I was blown up 8 times doing route clearance, and I sustained enough blast injuries where I had to get my right leg amputated below the knee.
Staff Sergeant Zahn is grateful for the efforts of Sinise and his band.
Love it, everything about it. It's great. My wife was with me, and she's also enjoying it, so it's good.
Marine Gunnery Sergeant David Post also had to get part of a leg amputated. the victim of an improvised explosive device.
My limb was just mangled to the point where there was no recovery. I tried to save it after a year and a half, and it wasn't working. I had to give it up.
Post says his faith, family, and support groups like the Gary Sinise Foundation are critical in helping him move on with his life.
God, core country, and that's the way it works. I do have a family, and I'm Catholic. The support group has been amazing, and that's what it's about. When I feel like I'm down and I can't do anymore, the people around me always bring me back with the help of God.
Sinise says his faith also motivates him to reach out to veterans like Post and Zahn.
I'm Catholic. My wife's a Catholic. We've raised our kids all Catholic. My daughter goes to Catholic school. They've all gone to Catholic school. Service above self is something that's part of the faith, obviously, and it's something that I've just been privileged to learn over the years.
The Wounded Warrior Project says on its website, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Gary Sinise and his foundation agree, wanting to make sure every veteran feels valued.
There is a heavy cost for freedom, and you are our freedom providers.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Portsmouth, Virginia.
Finally today, better late than never. A veteran in Tennessee is being honored more than 70 years after his military service. Meet Raymond Garner, a World War II and Vietnam War veteran. About a year ago, Garner made a request to have some of his medals replaced. They were lost and damaged in a move. That's when the Blount County Veterans Office noticed something major had been overlooked. The 91-year-old had never gotten a Purple Heart that he was awarded for his service. A ceremony held earlier this week corrects that mistake.
He should have been presented this medal 70 years ago or more. And thankfully, he's still here with us at age 91, and his family's here. And it's just an honor.
It's a great surprise to me, and I'm honored, with all these people coming out here.
Man, well, this is the third Purple Heart medal that the Blount County Veterans Affairs presented in the last 2 years. God bless them. Well, that's all for this hour of the CBN News Weekend. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com, and stay up to date with CBN News through Facebook and Twitter. Have a great weekend.